Splickety splat, Chris Pratt. I'm a conservative Democrat, and welcome to my second ever video. Today, we're going to be talking about the 2028 Democratic presidential nominee. And obviously, this is way too early. For all we know, it could be Martians from Mars, right? Nothing I say is gonna matter, is pretty much what I'm saying. And I added to this list, right? I didn't get this list, and there are a couple of people on here I do not know, and so I apologize to these 5 people and possibly more I didn't realize that I don't know. You're just irrelevant. That's all I have to say, respectfully. Um, let's get right into it. Basically, how it's gonna work, I'm gonna put everyone in S tier to F tier on this list based on my opinion. My opinion. And then at the end, I'm gonna take it and I'm going to decide from the S tier who I think is the best choice. One quick note that I will make, if I could just be honest, in my opinion, I think the best candidate is Lucas Kunce, because that's true. I do think that, but he's never going to win. Like let's just be real here. I'd put him as a great candidate, but he's realistically, he doesn't have the name. He hasn't won a state election. He lost to Josh Hawley. But he did run a pretty good campaign. I think there's a lot to learn from his campaign on the Democrat side. So right now I'm going to put him at C. He's my favorite politician. I'll link below his Substack, which I am mentioned in it, which is pretty cool. But other than that, I'm going to get right started away with Wes Moore, who I really think is really smart. I think he's really charismatic, which is something the Democratic Party really needs. He's really big into football. Oh, and he's young. I think there's a lot that goes well for Wes Moore. I don't think he's got the name recognition he exactly needs, so I'm going to put him at an A tier. Amy Klobuchar, I'm going to be honest, I don't really know much about her. She's Minnesota senator. I don't really think she's kind of like how I would describe like just unseasoned chicken. There's just not much there. I'm going to put her in C tier as well. Kamala Harris, I got this one early. I should have put this for the end. I don't think she's a terrible candidate. I don't personally like all of her policies, and I don't think she's as charismatic. She's somewhat annoying, but she's very popular in the Democratic Party, and I think she really could go a long way. I'm going to put her at, like, B tier, considering she's already lost an election. Obviously, if she'd won, she'd have been the best choice, because just winner, but she didn't, and I don't think it'd be smart for Democrats to choose her again. I really don't. Cory Booker, I just don't know a lot about him. He's a New Jersey senator. He's young. He was controversial on TikTok, and I honestly don't even know why. Just because of that, I'm putting him at B. Andrew Yang, just no, dude. There's just something about him that just pisses me off, and I don't even know that much about the guy, to be real. I know he was somewhat popular. He's in a party, I believe he calls the No Labels Party. There's just a lot about him that I don't know. He's not exactly a straightforward Democrat. A little weird. I don't have anything against the guy. I just don't think he would win the Senate, which, in my opinion, I think he's the worst candidate so far. They're not the Senate, the presidency. I think he's the worst candidate so far on this list. So I'm putting him at D tier. I don't think he's awful. Gavin Newsom, this is going to be the first S tier. He's the most obvious. He's not even trying to hide the fact he's running in 2028. He's just making it so obvious. I mean, he had a talk show on his podcast with Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon. And you know what? Props to him for being bipartisan and working with them. That's a good thing. Despite disagreeing with them, obviously. And like you said, I don't fully agree with Newsom, but I think he's obviously a big choice for the Democrats right now. Andy Beshear, one of my personal favorites. Conservative Democrat governor from Kentucky. He's extremely popular. I believe he's the second most popular governor besides Phil Scott in Vermont, who's a more liberal Republican. I will be doing a video later on covering Andy Beshear. But for now, I think he's a fantastic candidate. He's a Southern Democrat that's really popular. AOC, I'm going to put it S tier as well, which I think is going to shock people because I really disagree with a lot of what AOC's saying, but she pulls really well with the youth vote, and she's a pretty strong candidate. She's pretty progressive, obviously. She's I would say she's not quite as strong and known as Bernie Sanders, but I think she's got that voice. She's the younger generation of Bernie Sanders, and I think in the long run she will end up running for president. I don't think she'll win in 2028, but maybe like 2036 or something like that. So I'm going to change that. I'm going to put her A. I think she's a good candidate. I just don't think she's going to go that far. J.B. Pritzker, in my personal opinion, I don't want a billionaire anywhere near here, and I know that's going to piss people off because he gave a good speech, but the Democrats should not put billionaires there. That's against their agenda. I'm putting him in D tier. Fetterman, I'm going to sound crazy and get a lot of slack from that from the Democratic Party, but I somewhat like Fetterman. I like the way he's being bipartisan. I don't agree with everything he's saying. Obviously, after the stroke, a lot of people have said he hasn't been as smart. He's been stuttering. He's probably going to get primaried in 2028, which I believe is his Senate run. But maybe he makes a run for a presidency if he decides that the Democrats are going to try and primary him in the Senate, which I just think goes horribly wrong for them and just gives another seat to the Republicans. But, that's my own opinion. And then I threw some names in here that weren't on there that I thought would be funny because I saw them on TikTok. And Jon Stewart, in my opinion, this is a joke, but he's a pretty good speaker. Obviously, he is pretty liberal. We see that, but I don't think he's overall a terrible candidate or by any stretch. And nonetheless, the next guy I'm going to put up here, so I'm going to put him at B, Stephen A. Smith, which I put up here because someone said that I saw this on TikTok. I thought this was hilarious. And the Democrats needed to do what the Republicans did, which is elect someone that wasn't in politics before with Trump. And that Stephen A. Smith had talked about running at some point, which I have not seen the clip. I'm just pointing that out. And I was like, you know what? That'd be funny. I'm putting this on here at F tier because I just don't think it works out. Gretchen Whitmer, another S tier. Popular governor from Michigan. I believe she's won both races by 10 points maybe. She's really funny. She's got charisma. She's got a name over there in Michigan too, Big Gretch. I really like her. I think she's a strong candidate, and I'm sick of people saying that women can't run and women can't be a president. I really think she'd be the best one right now to be the first female president. I think she's a really strong candidate. I like her a lot. Jared Poles, governor of Colorado. He's just, like I said earlier, he's just like bland chicken, man. Like, I just don't think there's anything special about him. Shapiro, I'm going to give him S tier, and that's solely because he's a good speaker. His TikToks are a little cringe. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but he's also from a swing state, and that's just a big thing. Like, if he could guarantee Pennsylvania, it makes the election so much easier. Tulsi Gabbard, she's not even a Democrat at this point anymore. Like, she's running on the Trump party. Like, if she runs in 2028, she's going to get destroyed. She's an F tier candidate from the Democrats. I don't even have to give my political opinion there. That's just not going to work out. Water break. Give me a sec. All right, right into the next one. Pete Buttigieg, somewhat solid candidate. He's a little interesting to me right now because he just said he's not running for Senate or governor in Michigan, which, I mean, I think that's smart considering he hasn't lived there that long. But I don't know that he's gonna be a president candidate. Like, I don't have anything against him being gay or anything, and I think he's a really good speaker. I just don't think he pulls enough independent or Republican voters. I just think he's like a robot is how I would describe it. He's a really fucking smart robot, but he's just a robot. And so I think he's a vice presidential candidate. I do. Maybe a secretary of state. I don't know. I don't see him being president, though. I'm putting him A tier still. Obama, obviously this is a joke. Like, if say Trump, or the cabinet or whatever goes on, I guess it's Congress, not the cabinet, decides that, hey, we're going to make it so presidents can run for a third term due to this, blah, 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 blah. I would put Obama at S tier just because he's got charisma and he's won 2 races against a very, very moderate John McCain, who I really like, and a pretty conservative but was liberal Mitt Romney. I think he's really popular. I think he'd overall destroy Trump in that case, just would not be close, but I don't really think that's gonna happen. So I'm just gonna put him. I'm gonna put him at D, just because it's not even possible he runs again. Like, it'd be breaking the Constitution. It's there because I thought it was funny. Raphael Warnock, he has really good ads. I didn't realize this. I was watching a YouTube video going over his ads against Herschel Walker. This guy's got some pretty good ads, like overall what they would pull. But he's a Revlin from Georgia, another Southern Democrat. I just don't see him having charisma to run for presidency, though. I'm gonna give him B tier. I might even give him C. I just don't see him being a Senate type. Roy Cooper, very popular governor from North Carolina, and the reason I'm not gonna give him S tier is because I feel like it's best suit if he just runs and takes the Senate seat in North Carolina, and I think he'll do so with ease. Yeah, I don't really think it's gonna be that hard for him to do that. And yeah, I can see why people think he's a presidential candidate. I don't know enough about him, to be honest, but he's really popular, like I said, and that always means something. especially when you look at like Andy Beshear or Laura Kelly, who are Democratic governors in very red states, or Phil Scott, who's a Republican governor in a very blue state. Tim Walz, vice president, obviously, or vice presidential nominee. Obviously, he didn't win in 2024, and it really wasn't close. So I'd say the same thing about Kamala. I just don't think that's a smart move from the Democrats. I don't think that's their best choice. But I will say about Tim Walz, he is like America's dad. That's how he felt. Like he was relatable. He was funny. He's humorous. He had a couple of weird things about his past, but overall, I think he is a solid guy. He's funny. I don't really have anything against Tim Walz. I think that was a pretty solid VP choice, and I know a lot of people disagree with that, but I'm gonna give him B tier because I have respect for the guy. Which then, after a water break, I will decide who I think is the best choice. It's pretty obvious who I think. Who's the best choice? Andy Beshear. Boom. No one at all suspected that. Okay, yeah, I'm a conservative Democrat. Obviously, I chose the most conservative Democrat. That's my favorite pick. I don't know that you'd flip Kentucky if he ran for president, but he's really smart. He's obviously, he knows a lot about flipping Republican and independent voters if he's winning in a deep red state that I believe went like plus 15, plus 20 for Trump in 2024. Like, this would be huge if they could flip Kentucky. I don't think it'll happen, but I think he's likable enough. Like I said, Southern Democrat. I think he's a really good candidate. I like what I've seen from him. And I think his vice presidential candidate could be Lucas Kunce, but I like Lucas Kunce a lot, and from what I hear, I think they've actually met each other and are friends, but I can't confirm that. I think this would be a very strong ticket, because then, in this case, there's a lot of talk in the Republican Party that the Democrats don't have any masculine men, and you're sitting here and it's like, oh, well, here's two really masculine men. One's a Marine veteran for 14 years. It's like, well, who are they running? Are they running J.D. Vance and Tulsi Gabbard? Are they running Donald Trump Jr.? It's like, I would argue the more masculine side would be the Democrats, and I think that's a big thing. That's I'm for, and I think, like I said, they're both two strong candidates that I think are very popular, very populist, and I think they're definitely more center than a lot of these candidates are. Like, obviously, we have very liberal, progressive AOC, which I still don't think is a terrible candidate. I just think with how things have been trending to the right, and like I said, Trump won pretty heavily in 2024, I think it'd be smarter for Democrats to choose someone that's a little more conservative, a little more down the road, or middle of the road. Thank you guys so much for this video. I'm coming down with a cold. I don't know if you could tell, and yeah, I've been talking a lot of yap, so I'm gonna end it. I appreciate you guys stopping by. I'll make another video soon. I don't know what it's gonna be on. Like I said, I want to get a Republican friend on here and do the same thing I've been doing, but with Republicans, because I think that's only fair. That's my channel name, Devil's Advocate Politics, and I'll get into more of my political beliefs at some point in a later video, because I think it's important, because I am definitely different than a lot of Democrats, despite still being a Democrat. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a good one.